Okay. So the children here, again, at this point, is the subject of are raised. Okay, so we have a new so notice that we have like a new noun here, right? So a lot of children. So before, we're basically dealing with adults as the primary noun, and even this sentence is using a lot of pronouns to go back to that noun, right? In this particular case, it says a lot of children. So again, technically, like a lot is the subject there, and then of children would be the prepositional phrase that like gives you more information of who the a lot is, right? But in this case, we're gonna go straight for like the children. So the children are raised in households, right? Prepositional phrase, where parents are low skilled or illiterate. Now, notice that we have another verb here, right? We have are, which is by itself. That means that, again, if it's state of being, we know that the rest of the sentence, and when we say the rest of the sentence, really we're saying up to that comma there, right? So we're saying up to that comma. So we know that the rest of the sentence is pretty much just giving us information about that subject. In this particular case, is the subject children? No. It says in household where parents are. Wow. Okay. So that means that the parents, right, is the subject. Right there. All right. So cool. So children are raised and parents are something else. And it says low skilled or illiterate. Again, illiterate, right? In this particular case, ill, meaning not. So when you see literate, like notice up here it says literacy, right? And literacy can be a noun by itself, but in this particular case, it could also be an adjective because it's describing the skills, right? And then here you have illiterate. Illiterate here is an adjective, right? And it has the word ill. Ill, basically changing the idea of literate. So literate meaning you can read or you can do math. Again, you can't forget our math peeps. But illiterate basically meaning not, right? So you cannot read or you do not have math skills, okay? So think about, it's saying that the parents cannot read and the parents don't have math skills, right? Now, again, up to this point in this sentence, how many details do you have, right? You have two verbs. So that means when you're translating this into your own words, you have two details, right? Okay. Now, it says, now we have our fantastic, comma and, right? And what do we do with because? We underline because. So we're just going to put our comma and here, and we're going to underline that. And then we have, we all know. Okay. Now, again, when it says we, right? Who we're talking about? Well, Grahl is, this is not a story where there's a bunch of characters and the characters are saying, one of the characters is saying we, right? When it says we, Grahl, in and of itself, he's writing this in Rotary.org, which is, this magazine that I found that deals with this subject. He's like, he's talking about people in general, right? So we, meaning people, the public, right? Whenever you see that. So we're gonna highlight that. So we, the pronoun wouldn't be like parents and children, right? Because again, this is the reason I'm mentioning this, because of the fact that like, again, the rule is when you see that pronoun, you're looking for the noun. Well, here the noun is not being stated, right? We being the people in general, the readers, the audience, the public. We all know only a certain amount of learning happens. Okay. Now, happens is the verb there. Now we're looking for the subject of that verb, right? What happens? Learning happens, right? So learning would be the subject there in the classroom. We do nothing to address the households. Okay, so again, here's that greater, like audience, public, we, right? We meaning you, we meaning me, we meaning, society in general, the government, right? We do nothing to address the households they are coming from. Okay, well, again, are, and actually it's are coming. Oh, definitely. See, this is why you edit. This is why you look over your work, right? So are coming is actually, both of those are together as an action verb. So we're going to do that. Come on, there we go. Okay, are coming, right? Are coming. So, and then who is coming, right? They. Now, we're gonna have to do some pronoun juggling here, right? So we, being the general public, what noun, right, is they going back to, right? Well, right, it's the households they are coming from. So is it the parents or is it the children? Now, this is where we're going to require you to do some inference making, right? This is definitely going to require you to do some inference making in terms of making the right choice here, right? So it's talking about, in this particular case, right, the children, right? The children are the ones that are coming from these households, right? But when you're talking about, when you're looking at, this they, right, and especially the households they are coming from, right? It's mentioning who's in the household, the parents. So it's children with these parents, okay? All right. So I hope that makes the passage in and of itself a little bit more clearer. Now, I'm going to do another one of these for the Saintano. I'll probably do that tomorrow. Okay, and I'll load that up, especially when I can get some quiet time. So again, you don't have to worry about labeling the parts of speech. Like I said, I'm gonna go through these because again, for the most part, like I usually just kind of go through and just go through the sentences, talk about where the sentences end really quick, like my little 5-minute lesson, right? And then for the most part, at this point, you guys have each other to help each other make sense of the subjects and the predicates. But since we are living in very, very, very strange times, I felt like this was a little bit better in terms of like just giving you that help since you don't have each other to lean on. Now, With interpretation number one, it's a situation where I don't necessarily have internet access here. I would have to move somewhere else to do that. But with interpretation number one, I have that labeled on the other sheet. So if you go to that, that actually says word. Like this is a doc, so you can't alter this, right? But I have these so you can like look and read and see the text with each assignment. And then I made a Google Doc, which you can alter. So interpretation number one, again, and I put interpretation number one and interpretation number two like together. So you're going to do the whole thing. And it's a situation where, again, you're just putting all these into your own words. You're not repeating, you're doing your best not to repeat anything here, right? And this is so that I can see that you're actually comprehending what you're reading. And also keep in mind, you're not just substituting word for word. Okay. You're saying, okay, you know what? I have a verb there. I have a verb there, So down here, these are the two, these are the two actions. These are the two details that I'm going to put in. Then, okay, second sentence, I have a verb here, verb here, verb here, verb here. That's 4. So these are the 4 things that I'm going to put down in the interpretation number 2. And then for the third sentence, he's like, oh, I have a verb here, a verb here, a verb here, and a verb here. That's 4 details. Okay, so I'll make sure that those 4 details are represented. And then I have a verb here and I have a verb there. So that means those 2 details are going to be represented, right? But you're going to put that into your own words. Then, same situation where you're looking at the micro inference, and those micro inferences can be cause and effect. It can be reasons and conditions. They can be details, examples, and descriptions. They can be contrasts and comparisons or contrasts, right? So how does this, number one, how does all this sort of like relate? How does this relate to this idea of education, right? Does it support some of the stuff that we've been talking about? Does it go against the stuff that we've been talking about, right? What is the cause and effect that is being described in terms of how this relates to, low, middle, and high class, right? So we're on education here. How does this relate to low, middle, and high class? And also, if you wanted to, you could also relate to this in terms of taxation as well, especially when you're thinking about the idea of this idea of we, right? How do we do this, right? So this can also be related to, I feel like, could be related to taxation as well. Okay. So again, this is due this evening on the, it's slotted to be due on this evening on the 24th. I know things are crazy, and definitely crazy sometimes here. And, so, some of you are dealing with a lot of different things that deals with, the crazy, crazy, crazy times, especially with the isolation. Not as stringent. Now, all assignments do have to be turned in definitely by the 9th. And I'm going to do my best to try to keep up with, the Jupiter grades as well. But yeah, so those people who turn things in on time, you'll get on time credit, basically. That's what I'll do. And then, those folks who turn it in late, so there'll be some lateness penalties, but they won't be as severe as they are during the non-crazy times that we're dealing with. And hopefully by the time that we hit the 20th, so again, you guys go on break on the 9th. Hopefully by the time we come back on the 20th, it'll be a situation where things are a little bit, returned back to normal. And, yeah, looking forward to being back in my classroom and looking forward to seeing you guys again. And stay healthy. All right. Take care.